Welcome back, everybody, to That Reminds Me Of. Here we are, Doc.
Yes, this episode we are talking about Terminator Dark Fate.
Terminator Dark Fate. Actually been out in the US since November. However, with the coming out in Australia and then the COVID thing that hit and took over everything, we only just got to seeing it last week.
I only just got to see it tonight. I'm fresh off it.
Ooh, wow.
I finished it 15 minutes ago, so this is new and spicy.
There you go. Wow, you finished it 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Love it. That's very fresh. That reminds me a little bit of doing the festival last week, which is now behind us, and we've moved on to more mainstream and fun films. And one of the things we talked about was that the next film at the end of the festival was going to be the most fun, ridiculous, explosion-filled, Michael Bay-esque thing that we could find. And I think we found it. What are your thoughts?
Oh, there's no doubt we found it. Yes. This is explosions and fun and more Michael Bay than Michael Bay.
That's right. That is right. So
it's almost James Cameron.
It is. But not quite James Cameron.
Not quite.
Almost, but not quite. We've been here before where we've talked about something that's just like a filmmaker, but not quite, right? We've done this.
It
was with Bay. It was with
Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys for Life. Yes.
Which was a Michael Bay film, not directed by Michael Bay.
That's it. Yep. Anyway, so shall we start off with a little synopsis? And would you like to take it away, Doc?
No, I wouldn't like to take it away, but I'll try.
Okay.
Terminator Dark Fate is basically a complete rerun of the Terminator and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. They're the only two I've seen. And the basic premise is that two beings come from the future, one to protect the protagonist and the other to terminate the protagonist. And it's a big battle to the end.
That's the perfect summary of Terminator 1, 2, 3, and forever until you get to Dark Fate. I love it.
Yeah, okay. That's a pretty crappy start, but
no, it's perfect.
Is it? Okay.
That's what would you like to
add? Would you like to add any spice to that?
I guess I don't have a lot of spice to add, but I will say that this film, and it's not the first time we've seen this in Terminator films. If you've followed on past T2, you've seen Arnold Schwarzenegger come back. You've seen him get old. In this film, we're getting, I think, to about as old as he can get and still be a Terminator.
As old as he can get.
Yeah.
That's harsh.
I know. But hey, he's still making films, so I'm wrong already because I know there's more on the slate. But you basically get Natalia Reyes playing Danny. She's our John Connor in this situation. And it's set in Mexico, and then she is saved or gets the whole get in the car if you want to live moment from Mackenzie Davis, who plays Grace. Yes. And she's kind of like T1 Terminator, the first Terminator, where you have a human come back. This is similar to that, except she's been augmented. She's got, she's like almost a cyborg, I guess.
She's half.
Half, but she's human at heart, and that's how she started off.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you've got your kind of like your classic evil Terminator out to kill John Connor, but this time out to kill Danny. And this one, when you mentioned it's like T1 and T2, kind of, it's the same thing. It's there are so many levels of that in this film, because this Terminator has a T1 style metal skeleton, and then a T2 style liquid metal-y, but it's black kind of outer surface, and the two can separate, and that's sort of like how they've differentiated this Terminator. He's more badass because he can become two and then become one again, and he's got, I mean, every time they try and give them extra powers of some sort. That's just part of the formula.
Yeah, geez. I think this joint synopsis is morphing into a discussion of the film, and
it is. Yes,
and I think it should.
Yeah,
because I hadn't picked up on that. So basically this Terminator is T1 and T2 in one.
Kind of, yeah. That's
and
sort of what they've
breaks
done.
into the two. I didn't even pick that up, but that's so true.
But more advanced. But I think that's probably the thinking that the creators had in mind. Well, let's just put them together. That's interesting. That's new. I haven't seen that before. And then before you know it, you've got your classic. This is a three-way fight where they're all trying to get to Danny and save Danny at the same time. Then you've got Linda Hamilton just arrive out of nowhere, and she's gotten really old, but she's still a badass. She's got the aviators on and a giant gun. And you discover that she, all this time, has been just made her life mission to take out Terminators that arrive. And we'll get into why. And then later on in the film, this whole little band of heroes gets together with old Schwarzenegger, who's the original T800 from Terminator 1 and 2. Well, actually from Terminator 2. Yeah. And he's been hanging around in this little on Earth raising a family, and now he's out to sort of fight to the end as well.
Yeah, I think the identity of that Arnold Schwarzenegger character is a bit uncertain, though.
Yeah,
to me, isn't it? Like I don't think it's maybe the same model as T1 and T2, but it's not the same guy.
Okay, so here's my take on that, and this is something we can talk about at length probably, but we'll try and not do that too much, is that in the opening scene of this film, there's a flashback.
And good. I think this is important to talk about off the bat.
Yes, I think so too.
Yes.
We've got young Sarah Connor and young John Connor straight off the back of T2, like where they were in Terminator 2. It's like they've just survived Terminator 2, you think, or some version of it. And in this version, they have won, they're both fine, they've saved the future. And then before you know it, a Arnold Schwarzenegger T-800 arrives and blows John Connor away. And this new future takes off where Sarah Connor's this bitter, jaded, robots suck person for the rest of her life.
For the rest of her life.
Yeah. And so when she sees Arnie, the first thing she does is try to blow his head off, right, with a shotgun. So, yes, this is a alternate reality, a different universe that's split off from the other Terminators.
Is that enough for synopsis?
I think so.
I feel like the whole episode's going to be a synopsis. It's so difficult to sum up all the entangled little bits to talk about.
Totally. It's such a plot-heavy film, so... And there are lots of little twists and turns, and it is heavily sort of pointed at Terminator fans, and maybe in doing that might have achieved only the result of disappointing a lot of Terminator fans.
Ah, interesting. So opinion we're getting into now.
We're starting to get into opinion. A little bit.
And I'd like to, no, before we get into opinion,
okay.
Could you tell me your history with Terminator films, like what you've seen, what you love so far, what you haven't seen, where your gaps in the canon are?
I've seen them all, but when you go after T2, right? I kind of stopped caring a little bit, because the films go way downhill, and it becomes that thing I was talking about with like, what's the latest Terminator gonna be, and it's gonna be a woman this time, and it's gonna have extra cool abilities. Like it just gets ridiculous. So, and each film gets progressively more ridiculous until you get to McG doing his version of it with Christian Bale, and but at that point I was out. I was like, okay, can't do it.
Oh, so that was no good either.
No.
Okay.
Not for me. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy most of that ride. There are elements in all those films that are kind of great and fun, but as a whole, there's something in T1 and T2, right? That I keep pointing back at the poster. It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's behind me on the wall.
That's
there's
a good
something.
poster.
Yeah, right. There's something in these films that is the kind. It's two things. It's sort of the James Cameron magic, but it's also that period in time where the films were stretching. They were like, I'm gonna I'm going to make a great sci-fi action film. I'm going to stretch and push the technology as far as it can go. And so they're a little gritty and grungy and a little crappy around the edges, but like amazing at the same time because they're genius people behind these films.
Yeah.
And then you come to these newer films and the magic goes because they're a little too slick. They're a little too shiny and you kind of lose something.
Well, that could be just our proximity to them, perhaps.
True. Yeah.
But yeah, I have a very different history with them. As with a lot of these blockbuster franchises, I've just been blind to them all my life. So I have memories of T2 just because that was such a pop cultural event when that happened. I remember it was because it had the Guns N' Roses soundtrack, which was enormous at the time.
Yeah.
And I think I saw it in the cinema, and I don't remember having any real opinion of it other than it was really, really big. Like, do you remember it?
Oh, it was
a vibe
huge.
about it? Yeah, it was. Okay.
Yeah, it was huge. And I can't remember how old I was. I was young, but man, I loved it. I was right into it. Everything about it blew my mind.
Yeah, I don't think it would have blown my mind because it's not my sort of film, or it wasn't back then. And I hadn't seen the original, and I still haven't, up until a few days ago, hadn't seen the original. I'd only seen Terminator 2, didn't know anything about the ones past. And when you suggested we watch this, I was really bloody nervous because I thought I'm going to have to watch the whole lot to get to do my homework.
And you did the right thing. 1 and 2 is enough. 1 and 2 is perfect to land you into this film, into this world that this film takes you in.
Well, I did enough reading to get that and breathe a sigh of relief. So then I watched Terminator, the original, and really liked it. I was expecting, you know how I didn't like Aliens 2?
Yeah.
Or Aliens?
Yeah.
And that's James Cameron, yeah?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So I just thought I was going to hate it.
You just thought maybe you weren't a Cameron fan.
Yeah. I was pretty sure I'm not a Cameron fan.
Yeah.
But Terminator's good. Like, it's enjoyable. Like, it's ridiculous. But it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then I moved into T2, and it's a really well-made, great story, great action, plot, dialogue's great, humor's great. It's still not my sort of film, but it was... It's really good.
You're filling me with joy, Doc, just to hear you say this. Just my heart is swelling. I love it.
Well, I might bring you down, though, in a second.
Okay, great. Do it.
Well, then I'm told that this is the next one in the series, and we're going to come back to the, Sarah Connor, Jack Connor kind of universe. And then in the first scene, they basically wipe that whole universe away. It's like just, hey, Jack Connor, we'll find a reason to get rid of you, and then it's just a completely new film. So it's not really based on the previous stuff. It's using the similar characters and completely reusing the storyline in the same way that Evil Dead 2 does for Evil Dead.
Yeah. You're right. But not in the fun way, the slightly better way that Evil Dead 2 takes on.
Correct.
Respond. Yes, I will. I shall. First of all, it's John Connor, not Jack Connor. Second.
Yeah. Respect.
Second, I actually totally agree. I think we should have... Ooh, my light just disappeared. Wow. That was weird.
You're bright enough.
There we go. It's back. Let's see how long it lasts for. Yeah, I know, right? Next thing is I could have just done without that opening scene completely. Like, I don't think we needed it. We didn't need to see a world where, we didn't need to be showing that, I don't think. Maybe the only argument for showing it is that people would be confused, perhaps. But I still think we could have told they could have told that story as a reveal, perhaps later on.
Yeah.
And it would have been way cooler than doing the whole let's do the sci-fi, the sort of sci-fi, the CG young versions of these people, which I always hate and it always looks terrible, and I don't know why they keep doing it, but they did it anyway. And that's that whole uncanny valley thing where you're looking at young Arnie, doesn't look quite right. Young Linda,
well, in fairness, he rarely
right.
looks. He rarely looks right through the whole series because he's usually in the prosthetic.
That is
face
true.
And stuff. I agree. I think that would have been better because it lost me a bit in that first scene and then worked pretty hard to get me back. And by halfway through, when Arnie arrived again, it half got me back.
While I found a lot of this to be silly, I also had a great time watching it. And Edie did as well. I think we were both just ready for this sort of film, And it is a lot of fun. And I think a lot of that goes to the director, who's Tim Miller, who is known for probably
Deadpool.
most famously Deadpool, but, he's also got like an animation VFX background. He did like that amazing opening sequence of the girl with the dragon tattoo, and he nominated for an Oscar for one of his animated shorts. Just has a long history, I think, of that kind of visual storytelling, and Deadpool style action comes through in this film, and I think that's one of the real strengths of it, is you get that kind of really physical, bone crunching, like kind of icky, really close and personal action that makes for a really thrilling, fun ride if you're into that sort of stuff, and I am. So I found a lot of it fun.
Oh, so did I. I think it's probably because I was fresh off Terminator 2, which does all of that so magically. Like the car chases, and some of them are so iconic, like the one with the truck going. This is in Terminator 2. What other ones are there? Well, they try and recreate that type of iconic vehicle moments in
they do
in this one, don't they? Like there's a bulldozer at one stage.
That's right.
Big yellow bulldozer, is it, or red? And then there's the army plane, and all of these are and there's helicopters again, but all of them are meant to be making iconic moments, I think.
That's where this film probably succeeds and fails at the same time, as it just gets a little bit over the top, a little bit crazy. It's that kind of one-upmanship of it within itself, like how can the next scene be bigger and better, and and that goes all the way through to the end.
So true. And
you see that in other big action films, particularly where there's a franchise and there's a series. It's like each one is trying to outdo the previous 6, and it just gets a little bit crazy at some point. This film does that, but I went for the ride, and I think the reason I did more than anything was because of, what's her name, Mackenzie Davis, who plays Grace.
Really?
I just thought she was like a great action hero, just so watchable, really athletic looking, like you believe that she can do most of the things that she can do, which is rare in a female action star. Like often they put the most attractive looking woman they can find in this like action role, and you just don't believe it because they have to swap her out with like a buff stunt double every 2 seconds, and with her, you're there for the ride the whole time, thinking she's great, great at this.
So you were sold on the story pretty much straight away. When she drops from the sky, naked species style.
Species is great. Yeah, exactly.
I guess you've seen this play out in all the other movies, but you bought it and then compared her favorably to some others.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I thought she was great. You know what she reminded me of? Actually, we'll get to remind me of later, but she really reminds me of another female action role in a film that was really successful recently, and so we can talk about that. But I thought she did a great job. And I also enjoyed Arnie coming back and being old Terminator. Like there were parts of that I thought were fun. Parts I thought were a bit stupid, but overall it was good. And old Sarah Connor was kind of fun too. So I don't know. I just went with it.
I did for the most part. I thought Sarah Connor's her first scene was a little bit too much for me.
I agree.
When she just appears, like she's just human, and she's there basically saving the day, and as if she's impervious to this killing machine.
Not very believable that she would have been able to take out a whole bunch of Terminators by herself as well, right?
No,
There's this idea that she's for years been just one-on-one taking out Terminators. I don't believe that for a second.
No, and if she's been doing that, where are all the movies of it? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's a big effort.
Would make a great short film though, like a whole series of her just taking out Terminators with more like kind of like Roadrunner style situations where
That's beautiful.
she set up like anvils and 1,000 rockets all pointing at the spot where they're going to spawn.
Write that down, please. Yes. Sarah Connor v Terminators. Can we just get on to Arnie?
Yeah, do it.
Honestly, and the thing that I loved about all of these three, the thing that kept me there was the bloody humour. They're funny films.
Yeah, they are.
And it's mainly thanks to him.
Yeah.
I wrote down some quotes from this one. They just crack me up. He gets shot when they first meet him.
Yeah.
He gets all these bullet holes in his chest, and quote, "This will be very hard to explain to Alyssa," the wife, and then she arrives, and he says, "It's Alyssa. She needs my help with the groceries. Hi, honey." I don't know if I've got just some warped sense of humor, but that to me is so funny.
Yeah, it's
seeing
great.
The Terminator worried about helping his wife with the groceries.
Did you happen to write down the one where it comes later? He's standing outside the car.
I've got three more.
Please
I've got
go.
three more. No,
Please
you go
keep on
first.
going. No,
I think it's going to be the same.
I can't remember the exact words, so I want you to read it but it made me laugh out loud. It was great.
Well, there's a little sequence and there's several funny bits, but the one that got me, so they're all standing near the truck of the business that he's sort of pretending to be part of, and it gets to mid conversation, and he says, "He wanted solid coloured drapes in a little girl's room. I said, don't do it." Is that it?
That's the one. It killed me.
I can't do the voice. Sorry.
He looks at him, he's like, "Don't do it.
Don't do it."
It's classic Arnie.
He wanted solid coloured drapes in a little girl's room.
Don't do it.
And that's the biggest crime that he's had to deal with over these last 20 years.
Another great short film, Arnie, the Terminator, hanging drapes in little kids' rooms. It's just, oh, come on.
It's
so
so
good.
Kindergarten Cop. And like they've played on that a million times, haven't they?
They have. However, I can't remember any of the other, I don't think in any point in any of the other Terminator films have they kind of elaborated on this idea of like him having almost evolved and doing just regular everyday things. So I think that's fun. That is really cool.
But you know what wrecked it is that he's not the same Terminator. The old Terminator that was making, Hasta La Vista Baby stuff with John Connor.
Yeah, he got melted down, didn't he?
He got melted. And
yeah.
This guy is neither the first one or the second one. He's just he's another one.
He's a new one that has no history with them. However, he's now got this history with this family, and just by having sort of hung around on Earth for a whole bunch of years. You're right. That is weird. That is bizarre. I mean, I'd almost rather that there's like, you're right, because that connection with John is what was so great about Terminator 2.
Yeah.
And you would love to think that Terminator somehow survived, and that's the guy that comes back, because that's I mean, you've got all this awesome backstory and goodwill built up towards that character.
And that's what stuffed it for me, because I was fresh off T2, and it had really just brought me on the journey, and I just couldn't wait to see these characters, in 20 years. So why not have Edward Furlong and John Connor reprised? I don't get why you wouldn't write that in.
Yeah.
And I don't get why you wouldn't have T2's consciousness uploaded to some database somewhere. Just meant that he could come back in another body or something. It's beyond me why they wouldn't explore that.
Instead,
it's just
idea.
a new movie.
It's a cool idea. Yeah.
I'm sure there's reasons.
Well, I mean, they make up so much for each of these anyway. Like they just rewrite the rules half the time. So there's no reason why they couldn't have done that. There are pros and cons to this approach. I think what saves the film is that it is still fun. It does land in a whole bunch of we've done this before kind of moments, and I've seen this in all the other films moments. And some obvious things like the last battle at the dam is all a bit underwhelming. There's nothing great in there that lifts it. And even to the point that you get exactly the same ending. You get Arnie sacrificing himself, taking down the other Terminator, and also it's Grace as well, right? So I don't know. We've seen all that before.
Well, speaking of endings and what we've seen before, how is it with the same set every ending of one of these films? Everyone ends in like an industrial type warehouse with machinery and metal and pulleys and acid and trolleys and stairs. It's the same set every time. They must just dust it off for each film. And it actually looks similar to the set for Aliens, as well. So he must just have one in his backyard, James.
James Cameron's industrial shed in the backyard. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, you're right. It is pretty much exactly the same setup. Yeah. Oh, well.
Which is nice and familiar, I guess.
It's familiar. And you know what? That's the perfect way to describe this. I think what they go, and this is the thing that they play for, because they are, and this is what I was getting to at the beginning, is like they're trying to appease the fans of Terminator, and not even the really like great fans who just love the hell out of those first couple films. They want the people who have nostalgic memories of the films, but probably don't remember them too well. Like they maybe saw them 10 years ago, right? Yep. And they want a new Terminator film. They want to feel like all the little Terminator things are in there. Like, you've got the same sort of setup. You got the same sort of triangle of characters, and then they're going to end up in the warehouse, and there's going to be lots of car chases before that. Like that's what they want. But that's also, if you are a little bit more into the films, that's also what makes them disappointing.
Did you like it overall? Like, I think I'm gauging that you basically did, but as long as you don't think too much about it.
I think as long as you don't think too much about it and you're willing to go on the ride, it's a hell of a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Edie loved it too. We both sat there eating up all the action sequences and just having a great time with it. And every funny line that was dropped and every bit of cheesy acting was just like icing on top, like it was just great. Yeah. So I feel like there'll be a lot of naysayers out there about this film, but I think if you're just willing to go with it at that level, you're going to enjoy it probably.
One thing I liked about it was, this isn't very deep, but how they treat technology. So in the first couple, watching it today, you think, well, they could easily track these people. Surely you just don't have to go across the border to escape this machine from the future. That's just too simple. Surely they don't have to look up the phone book to try and find out where Sarah Connor lives.
Yep.
But I guess that was probably still stupid back then, but they just dealt with it. This time round, the fact that they dealt with that, I kind of liked. They put it into the storyline that you can track by phones or by breaking into some military establishment and using their drones. Yeah,
of course. There's thousands CCTV cameras everywhere, or millions of them all over the place. And yeah, I thought the gag where Sarah Connor's putting her phone in a chip bag the entire time, thinking that stopped it from being traceable. And then Arnie's character says, well, if you want to keep your phone in a chip bag, that's fine. But I've been tracing you this whole time. That's pretty good.
Didn't he say something like, keep it in there then, or something?
Yeah, I think he was giving her a hard time because he'd been able to trace her the whole time. Yeah. I thought what you were about to say there was the way you have old technology in the older films, and I don't that you then have to kind of continue on, which this film doesn't have that issue, which is good. But if you're into the Alien kind of universe, there's some really funny but great examples of how the technology that was on the Nostromo and in like the 80s is now, you're finding that same thing with like the old monitors and the green lettering and the tick 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 kind of sound effects. They're using those in like newer films and games about the Aliens universe, which is really pretty cool.
I like that.
Makes no sense, but it's kind of great. It's part of the texture of those stories.
I like that much more because it keeps you in the universe.
Yeah.
So you want you don't want to George Lucas it up so that there's a completely different look. You want the same
Totally
thing.
agree. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. Well, some remind me ofs. What do you reckon, Doc? Any that come to mind?
Aliens, the Alien series, due to just the female lead.
Yeah.
In this one we had 3 female leads.
Yeah, it's true. And there was a real moment where you had the 3 of them in a car, and you were like, okay, this is a very strong statement going on here.
And I feel like that conversation has been an undercurrent of them all, like, because on the first one, it's all about Sarah Connor carrying the big hero that's going to save the world.
Yeah.
So that's a little problematic, from the feminist perspective, for starters. But then it redeems itself a little by her being such a hero in her own right. In this one, they sort of set us up to get a bit angry about the fact that, that same thing is happening again, and this woman's only value is the fact that she's carrying this man. And
I saw right through that. Did you see right through that when that?
I think you meant. Come on, guys. I think you meant to.
Yeah, you're like, come on, they're not going to do that. Yeah, it's funny.
But it would hook. I'm sure it would hook in some people, and they'd get all angry about it.
Yeah. I think the whole thing was signposted. So clearly that they were going to set that up. That was a setup that was going to later on be revealed that no, Danny's not the mother of the hero. She is the hero.
I didn't quite pick that. I thought it was going to be her daughter.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No, I was looking at it going, I can see what they're doing.
It was definitely not going to be a bloke.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, but you know what? One thing it did make me think was like, how great was Jim Cameron at creating these like memorable, incredibly strong heroines that you can't look away from. Like, they're just so engaging on screen, and just the strength of Ripley and Sarah Connor, like it's undeniable. So I appreciated that, and I think this film made me think back to that, and I really thought that the Grace character was pretty good too. Maybe not quite as memorable as those 2 examples, but then again, the world has changed so much, and there's a lot more of those examples out there, so that could be why as well.
Yeah, the Sarah Connor character, I remember when I saw it in the 90s, I didn't quite get everyone's fascination with her. Because I know she was a big thing, and everyone was, oh wow, look, she's been working out and all this sort of talk.
Doing chin-ups. I think almost everyone, the second they saw her doing chin-ups, was sold. They were like, yep, she's the coolest person ever.
Yeah, see, I remember that, but I don't remember why they cared so much. So seeing the first one now and seeing where she started as the waitress, and really, not a very tough chick at all.
Yeah.
Then I found it really very cool when you see the new version of her.
Totally. The journey becomes apparent. Yeah. I love that. Which they tried to do with Danny. I didn't buy it in this film.
Not as much, that's for sure. No. But who knows? If we came back in 20 years and we're seeing an old sort of wrinkly version of her, we probably would buy it.
Yeah. I'll throw a that reminds me of in there. I thought a lot about all the other Terminator films that came after 1 and 2, and I was thinking that this was similar to those in the way that it was a little too slick. It was the same universe, but it was a little too slick. That bothered me a little bit. I think, though, it was more successful in just having fun with the world than those previous films. I think they took themselves a little too seriously. So that was a win for this one. And the other one we've talked about is Deadpool. Like the action, the style of action in this really reminded me of Deadpool a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that was another thing that really worked for the film. And then
I don't remember the style of action in Deadpool. I remember the humor in Deadpool, but not
the humor in Deadpool is the knockout thing about that film. But you sort of couple that with this amazing action, and it's so sort of tight, close, physical, like you're right in there. action. And I think the vision of the director really came through to pull those things together, and I see a lot of that in this film. There's a lot of those elements in here. The other thing that it reminded me of was like Fast and the Furious. Around the middle of the series, I can't remember if it's the 5th film or which one it is. You know, they're in Central America, and there's this whole like grouping, like a banding together to go on a mission vibe, and they're all badass in their own ways. These group of dudes, and this kind of reminded me of that. You know, like, let's get the band back together. They're all going to be badass. They're all going to have their own little moments. We're going to pay tribute to each of them. Make sure they all get their really cool moment. It kind of had that vibe going on. I think that's whenever you get like 5 people together, you know, you start to get that thing happening.
I love band back together films.
Yeah,
we had an episode where we looked at the Five Bloods. We talked about that.
That's right.
Duh, Five Bloods. Sorry.
And there you go. There's another one. The Five Bloods.
Spike.
Any other remind me of for you?
Last Jedi. And the one that came after that, you know, where these guys, Sarah Connor and co, really just went and found Luke Skywalker living in the hills.
And he's gotten old and ugly.
He's got old and ugly. But
they want him to be part of the team anyway.
Yep, and
that's hilarious.
The audience has just been waiting to see him. What does he look like after all this time?
Yeah.
Forget that he's been governor of California, but what does the Terminator look like?
That's classic.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be a few others. I'm sure there's a Batman, a Batman one where he's hiding, some origin story where Batman's hiding in the somewhere.
Can't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, probably. Yeah, no, you're right. That was a bit. I mean, they worked their way up to that reveal a bit. Like you knew it was coming, right? Because you know Arnie's going to be in this film, and they really hold it off for a good chunk of the movie. So yeah, that's great.
It paid off for me.
The other one I had, and this is what the Grace character really reminded me of, was Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise film.
Edge of Tomorrow. Oh, geez, I haven't seen a Tom Cruise film since Cocktail.
What? Oh my God, since Cocktail.
No, incredible. I saw that one where he goes crazy. He's playing a character and he's like got muscles bulging. Is it Tropic Thunder?
Was that when he was on Oprah?
Was he in Tropic Thunder?
Yes, Tropic Thunder. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh,
that's
that was character. Great. What a role. What a role. That was fun. Edge of Tomorrow has Emily Blunt in it. And Emily Blunt is really like amazing in it. She's just such a cool character. And the action, the way she pulls that off, it's just beautiful. And it just really reminded me of Grace in this. She had that same strength, very believable. Had that look of being sort of beaten down by years of something, war. But I think Emily Blunt pulls it off probably a little better in Edge of Tomorrow. And it's also a great film. It's just a great film. But yeah, I thought about that a lot.
I haven't seen Edge of Tomorrow.
It's kind of all I have. Well, that could be a homework film for you, potentially.
And the whole Fast and Furious franchise, I think, is a homework.
I'm not going to do that to you. That's rough.
I don't think I'm ever going to. So
okay.
If one comes out and we're going to talk about it, I think I'll just see it fresh, just that.
You're not going to watch 8 films before we watch that one? Incredible.
That's enough. Reminds me of, I think. It sounds like we're both done. I just want to make one final remark on the very start of the film. So not that opening sequence that I hated, where Arnie kills John Connor. Yeah. But the bit where what do you call it? The production credits at the start, something where they're, this is a film by this production house and blah blah blah.
Titles, I don't know.
Opening titles. So that's played alongside this footage from Sarah Connor in Terminator 2 going sort of crazy in the psychiatric ward.
Yeah, that's right.
And the way it plays was really exciting. It had a real energy, and it kind of infused. Normally they just have the production company's logos there, and they're just their own thing. They're little discrete little clips. We can talk about opening titles sometime. I mean, there's so many. The films that do that well
like really stand out, and how great are they? I agree that this one gets you in the mood. It tells you a little bit about the film you're going to see. It gets you in the mood with all this old footage, and also how well that old footage like stands up. You know, it just works.
They treated it a bit, I think. Like they treated it so that you would distance from it. You know,
totally.
Like it looked like history.
Yeah.
But it put you right into the story, and you remembered everything that happened last time and the energy of it, and then proceeded to disappoint you with the following.
I totally agree, man. If they'd just gotten rid of that, what do you do? They would have spent so much money on that shit as well. It's a common mistake these days, and I don't know why filmmakers keep going for it. They just should stop trying to do the whole de-aging CG thing. Just stop for a bit. Take a break. Stand back. Doesn't work.
They actually had Edward Furlong, I think, sit for it
in
order to get his face right or something.
Oh my God.
Like, why would you not just pay the guy to be part of the film?
Yep. Would have been cool. Unless he can't act anymore. I don't know. I haven't seen him in anything for a long time.
He was great in the second one, though, as a kid.
Oh, amazing.
Like, that's just a really memorable role. You remember that angsty brat, don't you?
It was perfect. Well, there you go, Doc. I think we should call it another film down. And this is a non-festival film, an actual mainstream. People went to cinemas to see this type of film.
We needed it, and
yes.
Let's see what we come up with next time. Somewhere in the middle, maybe.
Yeah, we'll find something in the middle, and we've got a number of films to get through and to enjoy before Austin Film Festival. So, yeah, it should be fun. We should try for a variety of films before Austin comes around and we get back into festival films.
I agree. Maybe even TV.
Maybe some TV. Nice. Love it, Doc. All right. Well, see you the next one.
See you, Barra.